Good evening and welcome to the February 1st hybrid meeting of the Greensboro City Council. I will take a roll call vote to confirm council attendance. Obviously, I am here. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Present.
Mrs. Abuzawader.
Present.
Mrs. Hightower. Mrs. Hoffman.
Present.
Mr. Holston.
Present.
Mr. Outling.
Present.
Mrs. Thurm.
Present.
And Dr. Wells.
Present.
Thank you. We are all present. We will start tonight's meeting with a moment of silence, and I would like us to keep the thoughts of Commissioner Carolyn Coleman and community advocate Tim Vincent, who recently passed away. Thank you. Mrs. Abuzawader, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the Katie Dorset City Council Chambers. Tonight's meeting is a partial opening of the council chamber with a continued option to participate virtually. Due to capacity restrictions, a limited number of residents are allowed inside the council chamber for specific items of interest. Following the conclusion of those items or topic of discussion, residents will be asked to leave the room to allow room for other residents to enter. In the interest of public safety, residents are required to wear a face covering. Public forum and agenda items. Speakers have two options to register to speak before council. Residents may register via the JOT form on the city's website by 5 p.m. the day prior to a council meeting, or residents may sign up to speak by 6 o'clock the day of a meeting by using the QMinder kiosk just outside the chamber door. Please see our Community Relations Manager, Gary Canapino, at the courier desk for assistance. To comply with requirements by the state in regards to Zoom meetings and hybrid meetings, and to provide an optimum experience for the public, council will verbalize motions and all votes will be conducted by roll call and using the electronic software. Each member of council must vote unless there is a direct conflict. We do allow and welcome speakers to address council at the podium, at the public forum meetings. Council respects the right for the public to speak about matters of concern that can be addressed by council. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes. Comments that seem intended to incite unlawful behavior will be deemed out of order. Zoom participants are requested to mute their microphones until they are called upon to speak. Sorry. The city of Greensboro is committed to promoting an environment that is free of discrimination, bias, and bullying. Thus, harassment, words, jokes, actions, or comments based on an individual's sex, sexual orientation, race, ethnic background, age, religion, physical condition, or other legally protected characteristic will not be tolerated. In order to be considered, written comments must be submitted online through the city's website, www.greensboro-nc.gov. We have a consent agenda for items G1 through G3, which are a grouping of agenda items that are voted on with one single vote to expedite what are believed to be routine and non-controversial items. Any council member may withdraw an item from the consent agenda due to a conflict of interest or for the purpose of voting no. Items removed from the consent agenda for discussion will be placed on the March 5th City Council business agenda. This meeting does include closed captioning. Depending on the length of tonight's meeting, we may take a short recess at 7:30. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our new city manager. Today is his first day. He has attended meetings virtually before, but it is very nice to have you in person.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here in person.
Thank you. This is the time for ceremonial and presentation items. Item number E1 is a resolution honoring the memory of the late Kenneth Ken Allen Free Sr. It will be read by Mrs. Hightower and Mr. Holston. Mrs. Hightower?
That would not be appropriate. Resolution honoring the memory of the late Kenneth Ken Allen Free Sr. Whereas on December 29th, 2021, this community lost one of its outstanding community leaders with the passing of the late Kenneth Ken Allen Free Sr. Whereas native born to Greensboro on June 8th, 1936, Ken's family lived in Pennsylvania for a short period, but returned to the Greensboro area when he was 12 years of age. Whereas Ken graduated from James B. Dudley High School, then continued his education by attending North Carolina A&T State University, A&T. Whereas he went on to serve in the United States Army with tours in Germany, France, and Lebanon, worked for Central Motor Lines as a truck driver, and spent 3 years in the New York Mets organization, playing with the Raleigh Capitals of the Carolina League and the Shalina Mets. Whereas Ken continued as a trailblazer in the Greensboro community, serving as the Greensboro, I knew it was going to happen, sorry. Whereas Ken continued as a trailblazer in the Greensboro community, serving as the Greensboro Windsor Recreation Center Director, a regional parks recreation consultant with the State of North Carolina Department of Natural and Economic Resources, and a recreation professional and collegiate athletics administrator, serving as the first full-time commissioner of the Mideastern Atlantic Conference, MEAC. Whereas not only did Ken advocate for athletes at historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, but was a key player in the National Collegiate Athletic Association, NCAA Division I status of MEAC institutions. Whereas impressively, Ken was the first African-American appointed to the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Selection Committee, which led to later terms as the commissioner of the Eastern Intercollegiate Athletic Association. Whereas pursuing other passions, Ken was instrumental in the creation of the Freedom Bowl All-Star Classic and the Heritage Bowl, which led to what is now known as the Celebration Bowl.
Whereas over the years, Ken's achievements, awards, and honors were many, including being named the university's Commissioners Association, UCA, American Football Coaches Association liaison, had basketball courts named in his honor at the Greensboro Parks and Recreation's Barber Park Outdoor Courts and the George C. Simpkins Indoor Sports Pavilion, received the North Carolina Recreation and Park Society Fellow Award, was an inductee in the A&T Sports Hall of Fame, the Guilford County Sports Hall of Fame, the South Atlantic League Hall of Fames, the Dudley High School Hall of Fame, and the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame, the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, CIAA Football and Baseball Officials Hall of Fame, and as recent as 2021, was selected as the North Carolina Recreation and Parks Association, NCRPA Hall of Fame inductee for his years of services and contributions inside and outside the field of parks and recreation. Whereas Ken was the deserving recipient of the North Carolina Governor's most prestigious Longleaf Pine Award, Whereas among all these other activities and accomplishments, Ken was a longtime dedicated participant in the City of Phelps United Methodist Church Board of Trustees and the Men's Choir, a lifetime member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity and Morningstar Masonic Lodge 691, volunteered with the Metropolitan Junior Baseball League and served the Major Junior Baseball League MJBL as the chairman of the board. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that one, that the City Council wishes to express its sense of loss and offer its condolences, sincere appreciation, and gratitude for the many years of dedicated public service by Kenneth Ken Allen Free Sr. The legacy he leaves will be remembered by the people of Greensboro. And two, that a copy of this resolution shall be delivered to the family of the late Anthony Kenneth Allen Ken Free Sr. as a symbol of the gratitude of the citizens of the city of Greensboro and the state of North Carolina for his many contributions to the community and beyond. Adopted the first day of February, 2022.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Johnson and seconded by Mrs. Hightower. Council, please vote. And we do have some family members here who are here to accept the resolution. I believe we have Ken Free Jr. and family and Michelle Wells. And I just want to say thank you for providing those pictures. They really were so special and it really gave a flavor of his life. I know that Ken and my dad knew each other well from their basketball days, and it was always an extreme pleasure to speak with him. Welcome.
Thank you for having us, and thank you so much, Mayor Vaughn, and thank you, Ms. Hightower and Brother Hugh, for this honor, and our family cannot tell you how much it is appreciated. We appreciate everyone on the city council, and we just thank you all for thinking of us and keeping us in your thoughts. And if I could have my family stand up and friends who came to be a part of this celebration. So again, thank you on behalf of my family. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I just want to say that I met Mr. Frieden, and was just so proud of his accomplishments and everything that he meant to this community. So thank you for sharing him with us. And he was a trailblazer, and, we were excited to see him at the basketball courts. We were glad we could honor him there, and, because he created the basketball court in the African-American community. He saw kids playing in the dirt and he thought, no, that's not what they should be doing. And so he went out of his way to make sure that years ago we had the same equal opportunities that they had across town. And that was something historic, and we're very proud of that. So I appreciate knowing him and what he has done for this community, and we will remember him always. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just one more thing. When my wife and I moved to Greensboro in the mid to late 80s, I got involved with the Kappa Alpha Psi alumni chapter here in Greensboro, and I met Ken, and we had lots of conversations. But it wasn't until 1989 that I had the pleasure of also meeting Ken Jr. As chair of the Botillion Military Scholarship Program, which I led. Ken was a bright-eyed student, high school student, destined for big things. But I'll tell you that it was the interaction that Ken had with his father and that bond and that friendship that eventually led Ken Jr. to actually also join the fraternity. It was a wonderful thing. And I said it before, Ken Sr., your father, was a friend, and he was a mentor. And he gave so much to Greensboro and our community. And thank you to you and your family for making sure that you shared him with us. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, brother. God bless you all.
Thank you. I am going to take the prerogative to go off script a little. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
No, were you here to speak on
Yes,
Mr.
I'm
Free?
Michelle Wells.
Please, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. As was mentioned in part of the resolution, we were privileged to recognize Ken and induct him into our Hall of Fame in October. It was a wonderful day. Ken wasn't able to be with us that day, but we had an online virtual session with him before, thanks to his wonderful family who was able to arrange that. And there were a lot of people there who just got to share how much Ken had meant to them and the impact. So far outside of the reaches of Greensboro, where he called home, he has touched people not only in North Carolina, but across our nation with his support for young park and recreation professionals and helping them to grow to be the best that they can. So it's an honor to be here tonight to officially announce that we are very proud to have Kenneth Free as the, get some feedback there, as the newest inductee into the NCRPA Hall of Fame. So thank you.
Thank you. There were a number of people from Greensboro that particular day in October, and we were actually able to use Ken being inducted into the Hall of Fame to get Mrs. Hightower there. And to her surprise, she was actually there being honored on something on a different one for, I think it was the Public Official Award. So it was very nice for Mrs. Hightower and Mr. Free to share those awards that particular day. We were sorry that Ken couldn't be there.
So, Mayor, if I may, I have some information to share about Councilwoman Hightower as well. May I do that at this time? So as you mentioned, yes, she was kind of tricked into coming to our conference in Winston-Salem, and hopefully she has forgiven those of us who were involved in that. But we did honor her with our Distinguished Legislator Award, and that award recognizes an elected official who is who has demonstrated an outstanding contribution in the general field of parks and recreation, be it on the national, regional, state, or local level. She has been an outstanding advocate, champion, and contributor for parks and recreation since she began her political career in 2013. During the 2017 election, she used her platform to advance parks and recreation services, programs, and facilities to vastly improve the quality of life for the community. She is also a strong proponent of equity, inclusion, and diversity, as well as social and environmental justice, specifically with her advocacy for increasing minority and women-owned businesses, contracts, and partnerships with the city and the Parks and Recreation Department. She has supported the bond referendum, which was approved by voters in 2016. She advocated for the restoration of the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund and the Land and Water Conservation Fund funding. She's promoted and advocated for the adoption and funding of recommendations within the department's award-winning Plan to Play system-wide master plan, and has voiced her support for over $800,000 invested in parks and recreation related projects selected by residents in part as part of a participatory budgeting process. Through the pandemic, she has continuously lifted up the value of parks and recreation and the community centers and parks and spaces that they've provided, much beyond the traditional uses that we had known them prior to the start of the pandemic. But she encouraged them to be used as spaces to serve the community as meal distribution and feeding sites, places to shelter in place, learning hubs, COVID testing sites, and health and vaccination clinics. Greensboro is certainly fortunate to have an elected official who sees parks and recreation and its value and supports what's happening in the profession there. And on behalf of the North Carolina Recreation and Park Association, we are honored to present her with the Distinguished Legislator Award, Councilwoman. And she brought her award with her.
Michelle,
It was a dirty trick.
It was. Before you leave, our Parks and Recreation Department was recognized for a number of awards, and I don't know if you recall what they were.
I
If you
do.
wouldn't mind just listing them off, because it was a really proud moment to be from the city of Greensboro at that luncheon?
So this is the first time, I do believe, in my time that I have been at a council meeting where we have had 5 awards or individuals or programs to recognize in one department. So Greensboro gets another award for being the first, to my knowledge, to have that. But yes, so Greensboro also had an outstanding young professional in Kristen Herndon, who is the Facilities and Aquatics Coordinator here with Parks and Recreation. She joined your department during the pandemic, which for some may have been a challenge, but not for her. She hit the ground running, quickly creating innovative programming, leading a section for the agency's accreditation, securing sponsorships, and playing an instrumental role in a new equitable sport in the city. She implemented a department-wide employee morale program, and we all know that was needed with what everyone was facing during those times. She obtained a DEI grant through our organization, and she nurtured a long-standing partnership and acquired a donation of mountain bikes and a trailer to start a mobile mountain biking program here in the city. She is chair of our Women in Recreation and was selected to serve on our Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Committee. On the national level, she's chair of the National Young Professionals Network Student Outreach Committee and serves as an accreditation visitor. She tirelessly demonstrates her passion in this field and has become a consummate professional and student, as indicated by her advanced degrees, her certifications, and her leadership. And Greensboro is certainly in good hands with young professionals like Kristen involved. There are 2 other awards, one being the Innovative Program Award, which was given to the city of Greensboro. I've got my notes here because you guys have so many, for the Adult Recess Program, which was a very unique and innovative program designed for those who are 21 to 50 years of age. And I'm going to read to you the information that was in their board application, because it really just kind of hits home. This program builds on the idea of returning to the innocence of childhood. No responsibilities, no grocery runs, no irate clients, or political turmoil. Just a game of dodgeball or a box of chalk. The event was full of games from childhood like tetherball and Foursquare. And then they added in some popular yard games like hula hoops and bubbles and splash pad and cornhole and giant Jenga. And to me, that is just ideal and takes us back to those times of play, is what Parks and Recreation is all about. Greensboro was also recognized for their Arts and Humanities Award, which was ultimately the program I think you know as GSO Online, which took collaboration between multiple departments here in the city to pull together all the city services to make it easy for everyone to go to one place to find everything needed about that. And it has become the go-to space to find information about in-person, socially distanced, and virtual activities, programs, and events. So congratulations to the city of Greensboro. I hope you are as proud of your Park and Recreation Department as I am of them. Certainly set an example.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
And
So
so if
we-
I may, Mayor, before she goes and everyone leaves, I just want to thank you all again for that award. I don't know where Nasha is, but I'm gonna get you, you know, I'm gonna get you, you know, I'm gonna get you. They got me that day, including the mayor. I thought I was going over to honor Mr. Kenfrey, which I was very proud to do, to represent him, but they surprised me with this award. But I do believe that Parks and Rec certainly is one of the quality of life features that we must celebrate. It makes a difference in many, many ways, and we must make sure we fund it and that all communities have access to Parks and Rec activities. Certainly, you know, when we went into the COVID and the pandemic and we had to stay home, but we could go walk through the park and we could see there in the park, nice, peaceful trails. And it was just certainly something that maybe we had not realized that we had such an amenity in our community, but we've been able to take advantage. And so I am a supporter of Parks and Rec and supporter of the bonds. That's the way to get more Parks and Rec. So voters, if you hear me, just know when the bonds come out, I'm expecting us to vote 100% for Parks and Recreation. But thank you for honoring me with this award. I'm very appreciative of it. And I look forward to a long, long lasting relationship as the city of Greensboro Parks and Rec Department does more and more with, for our community. They're very innovative. We captured it. They really are. And so I'm very proud to be a part of that. So thank you again.
Thank
And
you.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to also give a shout out. The department head is here, Lasha McCray, for her leadership with all of these programs that have been going forth. So I want to give her a shout out also.
Thank you. So I'm going to take a moment to go slightly off script. On behalf of the Greensboro City Council, I would like to read a resolution to recognize the interim city manager, Chris Wilson. Obviously, we couldn't put this on the agenda or it wouldn't be a surprise. So, whereas on June 15th, 2021, Chris Wilson, Assistant City Manager for Community Services, accepted the position of interim city manager for the city of Greensboro, North Carolina. Whereas Chris is a 28-year City of Greensboro employee with an extensive record of achievement, serving in roles such as Parks and Recreation, tennis instructor in 1992, Parks and Recreation Manager, as well as the director between 1997 to 2014, and most recently as Assistant City Manager. Whereas Chris served the organization with care and resolve during the 7-month tenure as interim city manager, advancing the organization's purpose-driven, people-centered, and data-informed philosophy. Whereas Chris's brief but eventful tenure as interim city manager included organizational successes such as the implementation of a police take-home car program, a general step pay plan, and dedication and reopening of Fire Station number 7, and major support for permanent supportive housing. Whereas faced with the continued organizational turbulence of COVID, Chris made tough but necessary decisions concerning employee testing, COVID protocols, and service delivery, all while balancing the competing and compelling needs of employee safety and community service. Whereas Chris played an integral role guiding the city's participation in the community-wide effort that ultimately led to Toyota's decision to locate a battery manufacturing plant at the Guilford Randolph megasite. Whereas the City Council of the City of Greensboro wishes to express its deep respect and gratitude to Chris, both for his service to the community in these past 7 months and to his 28-year career with the City of Greensboro. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that the City Council wishes to commend interim city manager Christian Wilson for the manner in which he performs his duties, with special thanks for his willingness to serve, his professionalism, and ongoing dedication to the residents of the City of Greensboro. That a copy of this resolution shall be presented to interim city manager Christian Wilson as a symbol of gratitude for his many contributions to the organization.
Move the
Move the
resolution.
resolution.
Second.
Let's all say that. Come on, 1, 2, 3. Move the resolution.
So obviously that was unanimous, but it was, Tammy hit the button first, seconded by Dr. Wells. Council, please vote. Mr. Assistant City Manager.
Yeah,
We truly appreciate all of the impact that you have had over these last 7 months, and we are very glad that you're not going anywhere, and will continue your tenure here with the City of Greensboro.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just, no. Thank you. You know, I really couldn't do anything without that great team and all the great city staff members we have. I'm so fortunate to even play a small part in what we do every day for this community. I couldn't be more proud to be part of it. I'm so thankful that Greensboro adopted me many, many years ago. And I'm just very thankful to the people that I work with because they're tireless. They do things that really no one even knows about every day, all day. And I'm just so very thankful. And I'm very thankful that you all allowed me the opportunity to help out. It's very special to me that it's on the same night as Ken's recognition, who's a very dear friend. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
So I'm going to go a little off script again. We need to have a brief closed session, but I think that people will be interested in the results of this closed session. It should only be a few minutes long. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Madam Mayor, move that we go into closed session to reserve the attorney-client privilege between the city's attorney and the city council in connection with a certain litigation matter. The parties to the litigation matter to be discussed include, in addition to the city of Greensboro and Guilford County, Mary Smith, George Smith, Justin Payne, Robert Duncan, Michael Montalvo, Alfred Lewis, Christopher Bradshaw, Lee Andrews, Douglas Stratter, Jordan Bailey, Ashley Abbott, and Dylan Alling.
So that has been seconded and moved. Should we take a roll call vote on this? I am a yes. Mrs. Hoffman? Mr. Holston?
Yes.
Dr. Wells?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Ms. Abuzawader?
Yes.
Mr. Outling?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurm?
Yes.
Mrs. Hightower?
Yes.
Thank you. We hope that that won't take more than 15 minutes or so.
Oh, Lord, I'm so glad. Hallelujah. We didn't do bad in there. We've done a whole lot of work. I didn't get to cussing or nothing.
He's such an
Oh,
asshole. And he's
God.
coming.
Can I have a motion to return to open session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Holston, seconded by Mr. Boozwaiter. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes. At this, and I apologize for taking longer than we thought we would. And Mr. City Attorney, you have a statement to read?
Yes, ma'am. I have a joint statement by the city of Greensboro and Mary and George Smith regarding the agreement to settle the lawsuit. The city of Greensboro and the family of Marcus Dion Smith has reached an agreement to resolve the lawsuit brought by the estate of Marcus Dion Smith. Importantly to these parties, the total settlement of $2,570,000, the majority of which will be paid by the city of Greensboro and the remainder by Guilford County, will financially benefit both the parents of Marcus Dion Smith and his children, and will formally acknowledge with a commemorative plaque that Marcus Dion Smith's life mattered. These parties will soon request judicial approval of the settlement and dismissal of the lawsuit without any findings of wrongdoing or liability. After the settlement is concluded, these parties intend to move forward in the spirit of respect and reconciliation. Madam Mayor, it's my expectation that this process of drafting a long-form settlement and getting the necessary approvals will take some time. Until that time and until that process is complete, we will have nothing more to say about this case as it remains confidential. And as I have advised counsel that this matter is continuing under the mediation setting, and so further comment regarding the facts and circumstances of the case or the settlement would be inappropriate.
Thank you.
Mr. Attorney, would you explain to the people, the public who's listening, why it's going to take some time?
We have a term sheet that will be reduced to a long form settlement agreement. And that will then have to go before both the court that this case was brought in, as well as the estate court. And well, I'm sure you have some sense of how courts work. And this, their time is their time, and we'll see when it works out.
Thank you. There was one written comment received from Genesis Dancer for the February 1st, 2022 council meeting regarding the Interactive Resource Center Winter Shelter. This comment will be posted to the City of West website tomorrow. We have 14 speakers signed up to speak. Some are virtual, some are in person. The first one is Talika Jones, followed by Del Stone, followed by Beth McKee Huger. Ms. Jones, I believe, is by Zoom.
Madam Mayor, she has not joined the meeting.
She has not joined. Okay. Del Stone, followed by Beth McKee Huger. Has Hester Petty signed on? Okay.
No, ma'am, she has not.
And then followed by Lewis Pitts.
Good evening. So I would like to speak to the issues just raised, as that is incredibly important, but I have another topic to speak on tonight. My name is Del Stone. I'm a Greensboro resident organizer with the Working Class and Houses Organizing Alliance. And tonight, City Council, after this segment of the session, is going to vote to approve a $125,000 grant to a consulting company called Housing Consultants Group. So the stated mission of this group is a good one, to help families obtain and keep their homes. And it's understandable that City Council wants to fund projects to help people with housing, especially as we see this pandemic is showing no signs of letting up and more people are facing eviction and houselessness. But like so many of City Council's decisions, this one is misguided. It is another move to funnel money to third-party entities rather than directly help people in need. Organizations like this consulting group spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every year for their own bureaucratic expenses, more than $200,000 in this group's particular case. They spend thousands on advertising, accounting, office expenses, travel, insurance, meals, entertainment, thousands that could go directly to people in need. They provide cushy positions like trustees, presidents, and directors, so lawyers and bankers can sweeten their public image while they own multiple properties and in some cases act as landlords themselves. This group's own president owns 3 properties that he rents out in Guilford County alone. There's also the fact that this consulting group is funded by major banks, Wells Fargo, SunTrust, Lincoln Financial, First Citizens Bank, Bank of America, among others. You would think that such would be enough funds to sustain an organization like this, but apparently these banks aren't giving that much, at least not in comparison to what our city government is about to fork over. $125,000 is more than a quarter of what this consulting group spends in a year. This grant is massive. The point is that there are better ways to spend this money. The city already operates one of them, which the mayor reminded us remind us of last session, which is that down payment assistance program, which gives money to home buyers straight up. Even more beneficial would be to put this money towards housing for people who don't have anywhere to live. This money could be used to help convert the massive vacant news and record building into affordable housing. It could be used to shelter some of the hundreds of people in the city who go without a roof over their heads on any given night. This money is not being used effectively. Grants like these perpetuate the myth that charities can solve our problems, but they sidestep the crisis that's worsening every day. There are simply not homes for people to buy in the first place. City councilors pat poor people on the head with one hand and shake the hands of elite developers with the other. They incentivize gentrifying development projects that are scooping up homes under average people's noses and buying out whole neighborhoods without regard for living conditions or the unaffordability of rent. We should recognize Greensboro is just named as one of the most overpriced housing markets in the country. The situation is a crisis, and what we're seeing here tonight is one more instance of performative politics that prides its image over action, revealing how structurally incapable this government is of serving the people it deigns to represent. Solutions are simply not going to come through these channels, and I implore the people of the city to recognize that and realize we have to create another way. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Beth McKee-Huger, and I believe she's on Zoom.
Yes, I am. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm pleased to see you on Zoom tonight. How would our local economy and our daily lives be impacted if all the school bus drivers, home health workers, biscuit makers, child care workers, dishwashers, retail cashiers, and construction laborers had to move out because of rising rents in Greensboro? We depend upon people who cannot afford to live in a hot housing market with its escalating prices. So they have to move into overcrowded apartments and houses that put their safety at risk. This is February 1, and we celebrate the the sit-ins. But today, these days, we have the shut-outs, disproportionately people of color. As we celebrate the enormous success of economic incentives for creating high-paying new jobs at the mega site and airport, the city recognized that workers moving in will need homes nearby and annexed over 300 acres for new houses. Can we invest similar effort in keeping the low-wage essential workers safe by assuring housing that fits their paychecks? To address the shrinking supply of habitable, affordable units, we need public investment in new construction throughout the city. We need the Preservation Loan Fund, plus code enforcement to achieve compliance with minimum safety standards to keep from losing the existing units. Donors and businesses are stepping up for these housing needs. So we have 2 of the 3 legs of a stool, but without public funds, the stool falls down. I'm excited about our new city manager. Welcome. And the proposed housing bond initiative to commit local dollars for the implementation of housing GSO, the 10-year strategic housing plan you approved unanimously in 2020, but needs funding to actually implement it. As you consider the financial priorities in the
30 seconds.
23 budget, I urge you to include sufficient city resources for neighborhood development to address the housing crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Louis Pitts, followed by Louis Medina, followed by Marcia Fouch.
Another way to deal with this.
I don't seem to be able to start my video now. Yes, here we go. Am I available?
Yes.
City council members, this is certainly not what I was expecting to be speaking about tonight. I want to reserve the right to think more carefully and see the terms of the settlement. But I would like to, knowing what that I know, commend you all for finally agreeing to a settlement. But most importantly, I want to thank Mary Smith, George Smith, their entire family, and the legal team, including Graham Holt and Flint Taylor and his team at the People's Law Office, for waging this important civil rights battle, for their being able to bring out and make, as part of what we know in the public knowledge, the details about the hog tying of Marcus Smith. It was a homicide, and that have given us some other important information that needs to be pursued. But it is a night, in my mind, to celebrate. The statement of celebrating and making an affirmative statement that Marcus Smith's life matters is so very, very important. So I thank all of the family there, their legal team, and I commend you. If better late than never, but I commend council for agreeing to this settlement. I would, in the sake of transparency, like to know if there was a vote, and if so, how that vote occurred, who voted for what position. But primarily, it's a night for me to be celebrating. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Louis Medina, followed by Marcia Fouch, followed by Christine Hepner.
Hello, my name is Louis Medina. I'm with the Working Class and Houseless Organizing Alliance. I too didn't expect this, but I did assume that would eventually happen. So first, I want to congratulate the Smith family for their victory. And I want to congratulate everybody else who had been involved pushing for 3 years. It's a little bittersweet though, because it took 3 years to get justice for a man who was overtly and publicly murdered in our city. It took 3 years for y'all to settle after you lied and you pushed it on the rug. 3 years after your chief of police lied, and then you switched to chief of police. And that says something, because really it was our victory. It was our power that did it. And you had to concede. And that's what I want to demonstrate to the people today, is that they had to concede. But it shouldn't take us 3 years to get victory. And the reason it took us 3 years to get victory is because we negotiated with them when we shouldn't have. Right? Another example, everybody remembers that nationally there was an uprising, right? Part of that uprising was here over George Floyd's murder. A bunch of people all over the nation, peaceful protesters marched for some justice for one man who was representative of many people who had been murdered by the police. And what were they met with? They were met with police brutality, right? Where's the concessions for all that blood and all that sweat and all those lies that our entire nation faced, all that trauma that's just been swept back under the rug? Here in this city, we were tear gassed and the city lied about it. I and my comrades were on the street that night, and this establishment, this group of people that play government all year long lied about it, and the press had to release it. What I'm saying is that isn't fast enough. That wasn't fast enough for the Smith family. That isn't fast enough for any of us. We shouldn't have to wait 3 years when one of us is openly murdered by the government that's supposed to be protecting us. That's all I wanted to say.
Our next speaker is Marcia Fouch, followed by Christine Hepner, followed by Billy Belcher.
It says I'm unable to start the video. Let's see here. Start video. I'm trying to. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I wasn't expecting this. It's a pleasant surprise. I'm I don't know if you know this, but Sunday was Marcus Smith's birthday, and he should have been 42 years old then on that day. Yeah, I know you're tired of hearing about the Smith case, and I'm tired of talking to you about it, but it just goes to our audacity that we can feel tired when another Black family has lost a loved one to police violence. So while I'm happy to hear of the settlement in the mediation, I'm still concerned that the police officers that stood over Marcus Smith while he died are still on the street and are supposed to protect and serve all of us, including homeless Black people. I don't have too much to say. I'm like Lewis. I kind of feel like I want to, see how this plays out. I'm glad to hear the 2.75 million settlement, and congratulate the Smith family and their legal team. I know you can't comment on the case, but I do want you to know that at the birthday celebration on Sunday, I did sort of make a pledge that I was going to keep showing up here to see this thing through. So again, I guess it is a time to celebrate. So thank you.
Thank you. Christine Hepner, followed by Billy Belcher, followed by Kiera Sattler.
My name is Christine Hoffner. The good news is the Smith case is settled, but I'm going to focus on the problem the body cam evidence in that case revealed. I've lived in Greensboro just over 2 years, and I'm always interested to learn more about it. So last week on a national podcast to inspire cities toward greater economic, environment, and social justice, it got my attention when they said, city leaders would love if Greensboro became known as the civil rights city. The civil rights city. Yeah, that has a nice ring to it. But more importantly, a lot of Greensboro residents would love to have the city live up to that name. But it would take a lot of work for Greensboro to earn that title, to earn it now, especially in the face of the recent body cam evidence of Greensboro Police Department's aggressive and racist policing. Meanwhile, talk about civil rights, this has been mentioned, 2 days ago would have been Marcus Smith's 42nd birthday. His death at the hands of Greensboro police is seen as a federal civil rights violation, specifically the use of excessive force due to failure to train and supervise the police. That failure ultimately rests with City Council. So hopefully y'all are fully aware of the body cam evidence uncovered in the Smith family's lawsuit against the city. To be specific, that footage points to serious issues in police training, conduct reporting, and accountability. And hopefully you're aware that those are issues aside from the Smith lawsuit, that is that they have repercussions for city residents overall. It's hard to know just what you're aware of because you haven't made the public aware of your views about this evidence, which I repeat, affects city residents in general. So we still need to know the answer to a question you've been asked a number of times in the past few months. Have you seen the police body cam evidence uncovered in the Smith case? Would it help to ask a different question? Are you all aware that aside from anything to do with the Smith lawsuit, the police body worn camera video provides irrefutable statistical evidence of racist policing? Are you aware that's a problem for Greensboro? And are you all aware that the aggressive policing the video shows is a problem for Greensboro? Keeping quiet about this evidence doesn't look good. And the evidence doesn't make the city look at all like the civil rights city. And it sure doesn't make the video evidence go away. With the election coming up, voters are going to want to know what steps you'll be taking to address the racist, aggressive policing shown on the body cam
3
evidence.
seconds.
So it's time to let us know what you're all aware of and what you're going to do about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Billy Belcher, followed by Kiera Sattler, followed by Jen Nixon.
Good evening. I'm Billy Belcher, 5939 West Finley Avenue. I'm here tonight with the Working Class and Houseless Organizing Alliance. Chuck, you said Marcus wasn't worth 6 figures. I don't think you knew what you were talking about, did you? Goddamn. All right. Last fall, the city engaged the services of a company called Block by Block to work downtown as junior police officers, or as DGI Director Matheny said, They're to save Greensboro police time so they can focus on what they need to focus on and not something minor. So we have minor league cops as private security in our city. They seem to get public money, but they work for block by block. So the city doesn't have to worry about giving these workers paid leave or retirement benefits or the higher wage that government workers might expect. Block by block saves money at the expense of our city workers. Block by block, I'm not sure if y'all are aware, is a part of SMS Holdings, which is what the company's website describes as a God-centered faith-based business. And SMS is known for what they euphemistically call union avoidance campaigns. And they have a history of breaking labor law. And as it turns out, our city could not have picked a more aggressively anti-union security force if it had tried. I'm sure that Director Matheny is quite proud of that, but I don't think any Democrats in our city council need to be. Along with the union avoidance campaign, there's another euphemism Block by Block uses in its work for business improvement districts. And this is the homeless exclusion district, in which, according to a 2018 study at UC Berkeley, unsheltered people are subjected to surveillance and harassment and arrest based merely on their status rather than their behavior. I'll remind everyone, it's only been a few years since DGI tried to convince y'all that panhandling should be outlawed. And now a Fox 8 story recently said that Block by Block in Greensboro is focused on panhandling, quote, and quote, camping presence count, among other things. So I think it is reasonable to ask, is Greensboro becoming a homeless exclusion district? Is it already a homeless exclusion district? Given that Black men who are homeless can be killed downtown and nothing seems to ever be done about it. Why have we hired a conservative Christian union busting security force with a history of harassing the unsheltered? I suppose that is my question to you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kiera Sattler, then Jen Nixon, then Caden Harvig.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kiera Sattler. I live at 2003 Rolling Road. And today I'm here to talk about the Hyatt Street residents. So related a lot to this discussion around housing, but really specific to what's happening in our neighborhood. So I want ideally them to stay as our neighbors. I want my children to be able to go to school with their children. I value their presence in our community. And I'm really against having a high-rise luxury apartment built on top of a welcoming, family-oriented community that's already been here for decades. And so while this is my first choice for the Hyatt Street residents, I want them to have a viable, dignified, and autonomous choice in where they might have to go next. And so I'm really concerned about some of the conflicting information that has taken place in the news recently. And so first I'd like to ask whether or not the city is genuinely taking a neutral role in supporting the residents as much as possible. So many of you have mentioned how you care about residents, but it seems like the news might have some conflicting information about that. It seems like Michelle Kennedy asked the residents to sign a letter promising that they would leave in June. And this was even before there was a finalized plan in place for their relocation. And so I was hoping to share more information about the contents of the letter that they were asked to sign. Did the city of Greensboro write this letter? Did the developer's lawyers write this letter? Who wrote this letter? Does this letter ask the Hyatt residents to waive their rights to legal eviction? And is the city offering any resources to help families if they do have to relocate? And so what is the city trying to get them really to sign if there's no viable relocation option that has been offered to them? I'm really asking for more transparency in whether or not the city is being a neutral party and whether or not they are supporting our residents like they said they would. I would also like to ask about what the city is doing to help the Hyatt Street families. So as I mentioned before, you said you want to help these families, but it seems like they are not taking a neutral stance and have been more so engaged in trying to find a way for residents to move out of their current place rather than seeing how they can enable them to maintain in their decades-long homes. And I was wondering if the city is doing anything on the residents' own behalf as opposed to on the developer's behalf, because it really seems like they are not taking a neutral stance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have two more speakers on the Hyatt Street issue, and I did ask Michelle Kennedy to come to tonight's meeting to give a brief update. Let's have our speakers and then Michelle. The next speaker is Jen Nixon, followed by Caden Harvig.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm Jen Nixon. I live at 402 South Elam Street in the Lindley Park neighborhood. And I also bring greetings from 3 friends in my mom group who wanted to be here tonight, but got incorrect information about the deadline for signing up for the Zoom meeting. So I hope that they will speak with you guys in the future. I'm dialing in tonight just honestly to check with you as someone who's been following what's happening with the Hyatt Street.
Excuse me, I do have to say the clarity of your audio isn't very good.
I'm not sure how to fix that. I can move a little closer and hope that's better.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm dialing in to check with you tonight about what's happening with the Hyatt Street effort. I haven't been to a city council meeting before, but I do have kids at Lindley and Kaiser, and so this feels very, very personal to me. I know that these families want to stay in Lindley Park and they want to stay together, and it seemed like they were getting support from both the community and the city to try and make that happen. But recently, these news articles have been very confusing about the Hyatt Street residents being asked to sign a letter saying they would leave by June. And that, I can't even imagine being in that situation, being asked to leave with no assurance of a new site. I work in healthcare, and I know that when people don't have the financial assurance to know they can afford care, they just don't get care. So I can't imagine what it feels like for these families to not know where they're going to be with their possessions, with their kids, with their pets, with everything they own. I'm just scared for them, honestly, and how big this uncertainty must be. Through the summer and the fall, I had the impression that the city was working with the residents, and I hope that's still true. But I really came here to ask tonight, like, is that true? Is that the case? Is there a plan for their relocation? Are they being asked to leave before they know where they can be? Do they have the option to stay together? Are they being evicted? Are they being asked to waive their eviction rights? I can't piece any of this together from the information that's being made public. But I know that you guys know the answers, and I hope you'll share them here tonight or following the meeting. I really appreciate the chance to speak to you directly. I hope that you can and will support the residents. Trust is such a huge part of governing and creating community. Transparency, warmth, and competency all work together to build trust, and we've seen some of that tonight. I know they exist in the city council. I know they exist in this community, and I hope that they will exist for the Hyatt Street residents as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Caden Harvig.
Hello, my name is Caden Harvig. I live at 2631 Beechwood Street in Greensboro, in the Lindley Park neighborhood. While my hope remains with my neighbors on Hyatt Street and the rest of my neighborhood, that they will be able to stay in their homes. We are here tonight to ask about what the city is doing to uphold your commitment to supporting them in their relocation. Really, those who went before me did a great job, so they covered a lot of the points. But I'm here to support that and to support the community. I've reached out to some of you. Madam Mayor, I appreciate you calling me back and I apologize I missed it.
Well, I didn't get your message and I've called a number of neighbors back in the last 2 days.
Well, you did call me back and I appreciate it. I
Oh.
just wanted to call you out for that. You know, we are here to try to see and understand how the city is upholding their commitment to supporting these residents. There's been a lot of talk about relocating them together, finding appropriate land for them to be able to be moved together and supporting that move is my understanding. And I'm sure Michelle Kennedy will talk about it, but it's my understanding that there was a meeting in December where they were explicitly told that they would be supported in this move. And then asked in January to sign a letter that states that they will leave in June, despite there not being any plans in place. They have not gotten anything in writing showing that support or what that support might look like. And we are just asking for transparency from all of you and to be clear about what it is that you are going to do. And you know, as much as there's been a lot of talk about supporting them, we're just hoping to be able to see that and that will be shown in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy, if you want to give an update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council, and apologize for my raspy voice. So we have had 3 meetings with residents of Hyatt Street. Our most recent one was 2 weeks ago. We have, as it relates to the ability to be able to stay in the location that they are, as we've explained on multiple occasions, that is a private sale. The city has no ability to intervene in that sale, and we've been given no indication that staying on that property is a viable option. Been very clear about expressing that to the residents of Hyatt Street, and they have acknowledged that they understand that that's the case. Up to this point, one of the first requests that they made of our department was to have a list of city-owned properties whose initial zoning allowed for mobile homes to be placed on them. We provided that list. There was one parcel that they identified as having any interest in. Unfortunately, it is in Old Ashboro. And as you all understand, overlay maps now create an exclusion for zoning in that location. There was a second property that they had some interest in that is privately owned and is owned by a development company who intends to develop it and is uninterested in selling it. So those have been the 2 properties that residents have identified. This has been an ongoing conversation for us with residents. It hasn't been a one and done. There are sometimes daily conversations taking place with folks from Hyatt Street. Currently, there are 5 tenants at Hyatt Street that have identified other housing locations. We are currently working on putting together a relocation package for those folks. There are 9 folks working with Siembra who want to stay together and are looking at all options available to them. We have explained in pretty great detail that in order for that many units to stay together within the city of Greensboro, our regulations require a minimum of 5 acres. And as all of you know, 5 acres in the city of Greensboro that is zoned appropriate for mobile homes is hard to come by. As it relates to the letter that's been mentioned several times, that is not something that we brought to residents of Hyatt Street. That was something that they requested of us. Madam Mayor, you were at that meeting where we let them know, you let them know that the developer had worked to come to a terms with letting the children stay through the end of the school year. And that indicated that they would be able to stay through about mid-June. And at that meeting, residents asked to have that in writing. And which makes perfect sense. So we have gone back to Mark Isaacson representing the developer and asked for a written document that we can then present to residents for them to review and have reviewed by anybody that they would like, because they were uncomfortable making a verbal agreement that didn't in writing indicate their security and housing through mid-June. We continue to, there was a question about, are we remaining neutral in this process? And the answer to that probably is no. We've gone well above and beyond what we would ever, as a city, typically offer in an event such as this for the residents of Hyatt Street. As it sounds cold to say, but the truth is properties change hands all the time and tenants are often caught in the crossfire of that. And the city almost never intervenes in those instances. So we've gone well above and beyond what would ever be required of us to try to help these residents find relocation. We continue to do that. Our next meeting with them is scheduled for this week. For us, this is an ongoing conversation of support in community with residents of Hyatt Street. There has been no indication from us that they are uncomfortable with anything that we've discussed to this point. Largely, those meetings, and the mayor can attest to this, are us listening to their concerns and answering questions that they have as we navigate the process. And that's what we intend to continue to do, and happy to answer any other questions that you all may have. I just would also add that as it relates to media reports, we have no control over that. The media reports what the media is going to report. And as we all know, that's not always necessarily factual.
I do want to point out that that you and Neighborhood Development have really put a lot of work into this the last couple of weeks. And I know that you had inspections go out and look at all of the homes to make sure that they were roadworthy, that they would be able to be moved.
We did. We had a mobile home mover come out and assess all units on site to make sure that they were able to be moved, and they are. We also, essentially as a courtesy, had the code enforcement department go out and inspect all units, not to find violations, but to indicate to any of those residents any issues that may have present in their homes, and we provided those to them. So we have a good handle on the stability of each of those units and the ability for each of those units to be moved in the condition that they're in. And that really is a first step in the process. You can't relocate something that isn't stable enough to be relocated.
I do have a question. You said would it be for 9 of the homes, they need 5 acres for 9, or for a larger community?
In order to have a mobile home park within the city of Greensboro, it's a minimum of 5 acres that's required to do that. And with that many units together, essentially it would be the creation of a mobile home park.
So it would accommodate other people beside
could,
that 5
theoretically.
acres. The other thing pointing out, looking at, clean acreage, is that there would have to be utilities run and internal roads, and the timing on that is very important. I don't know that we could get utilities run and streets put in and have no idea what that cost would be.
There's a pretty tremendous amount of infrastructure. You have to have paved parking pads, paved roads throughout if you were going to put 9 units in one parcel. So there is a considerable amount of infrastructure, and we've been very clear about that. We've been very direct in saying that probably the most realistic option is to identify 9 different locations for relocation in terms of just what is available within the city that could accommodate the need.
And I do want to appreciate the fact that you've reached out to some of our local foundations to help with funding as well. So I do think that city staff has done a really good job trying to work with the neighbors. And we do know how important it is to keep them together. And that would certainly be our first choice, to make sure that we can keep people together as a community. So I want to thank you for your efforts and the efforts of the rest of the department. And, I hope that this will come to a good resolution for all of the neighbors. And it's important for them to understand what it was that the property owner said about that the June 15th deadline. And that is they would have to have plans in place in order for them to extend that deadline. Mrs. Thurm, then Mrs. Hightower, and then Mr. Holston.
Michelle, you commented that I think you said 5 families have received a relocation package, I think is what you called it, or something.
There are 5 that have identified locations that they want to relocate to, and we're working through the financial piece of that relocation package now.
And can you give us some sense of what a relocation package, what does that mean?
I mean, it's moving a mobile home is not an easy process. You have to disconnect all utilities, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, decking, and then it has to be reestablished in a new location. It's costly, somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000 per unit for a full breakdown and setup is about what you're looking at. So that was why the assessment of the units became so important. If you're talking about a mobile home that isn't stable or has a value of $5,000 or $6,000, it's difficult to invest $12,000 in moving something. There's not much of a return on that investment.
So are we talking about financially helping them with that relocation?
There are some avenues available within the city emergency rental assistance programs, some other programs that we have within the department. We've also been having ongoing conversations with the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro, who is working to identify additional funding to support this. Ideally, they could use ETAP dollars that they have in place that would work for that process. And there have been some private individuals that have indicated their interest in supporting in relocation. So this is really a partnership between us and CFGG to sort that out.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hightower, then Mr. Holston.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy, for all your efforts in helping them. I know it's a challenge. Have you looked at any of the current existing mobile home parks to see if there's any space available there? And
the 5 that are relocating to existing mobile home parks. I think all but one of them are in Guilford County. There is one fairly large mobile home park that is kind of on the city-county line, but there has already been one resident who is fully relocated to that park. So yes, that is where the 5 folks who've already identified their relocation plans intend to go to existing parks.
Okay, and are any of them interested in home ownership beyond just mobile home?
We have begun the conversations around vetting the financial picture of each individual family to determine if they're able to qualify for any city down payment assistance programs or other programs that we have available, should they choose to go a route like that. I would say that at this point, everything is on the table as far as options, whether that's down payment assistance, rental assistance for moving a mobile home, or all points in between. We're really trying to be as creative as we can to identify new locations.
Okay. So it's really a good idea that we have the down payment assistance program.
It's a good
Because
idea.
there are people that do need to take advantage of that down payment assistance.
Well, the
program.
down payment assistance program is run by Housing Consultants Group, which is a small local nonprofit that is a certified housing counseling organization. So the notion that it's a large conglomerate
Right.
is misinformed. So without down payment assistance, many low income and middle income home buyers in Greensboro would never be able to become
Right.
homeowners.
Right, because most people have not even saved $600 just in case of an emergency, much less 10,000.
That's correct.
So I think that's great. I think we're going to work to help them as much as we can. So thank you for all your efforts.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Thurm?
thought-
Oh, you did it,
I thought
Mr.
you was
Holston.
next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. These are citizens of Greensboro, and my heart really goes out to them in this situation. But at the same time, the kind of the harsh reality of it is this private sale that we really can't participate in. And I will say, and my comments are really more general than anything else, but Michelle, I do commend you and your department for the work you've done to inform and notify and give them the information that they need. But I do implore you to continue to use the city's resources, and also to bring in those from those other community-based organizations, whether it's down payments, whatever it might be. Because regardless of this situation, we really need to find a way to assist them as much as we possibly can. And so
Agreed.
again, general statement, thanks for what you've done, but if there's any more you can do just to give notice, just to give information, so that they fully understand the situation, is greatly appreciated.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Michelle, can you just review the numbers again with us? My recollection is that initially there were what, 22 or 23
I believe there were 22
units occupied there.
Roughly that amount, yes.
And so we are down at this point to
There are 13 families still on the
13
site.
families still on site, but 5 of them have relocation.
There were 14. One has completely relocated.
Okay. So we're
There
down to
are
13.
4 remaining that have already identified their relocation plans. And then there are 9
So we've got
that were
9.
part of the ongoing conversations.
So we have 9 families who have some time here until mid-June or so to really get through this process and determine what their options are. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate all the work that you and your department have done.
Thank you.
I appreciate the update. Our last speaker is
Catherine Holcomb.
Our last speaker is Catherine Holcomb.
Hi. My name is Catherine Holcomb, and good evening, Mayor Vaughn and City Council and the new city manager. I got a headline that you were doing something great today in the newspaper. I live at 1911 Rosecrest Drive. Mr. Outling represents me, and I rarely agree with his decisions. However, I got a recent email from him as a mayoral candidate, and he had this amazing slogan. He said, "Too often in Greensboro, your zip code is your destiny." Oh my gosh, that is so insightful and so true. I'm from 08. Do you have any ideas about who I am? I was once a renter in 05. That's a different kind of life. I was a teacher in zip code 27406. Are there pictures in your mind about the different zip codes in Greensboro? Imagine a slogan, Greensboro, where your zip code is your destiny. Originally driven by racism, railroad tracks and redlining divided us into black and white sections of Greensboro. It's only in the last several years that UNCG and NCA&T have cooperated and worked together. It was one on one side of town, the other on the other. And some folks actually fear going into other zip codes than where they're comfortable. So today, not only do PTAs and housing and parks and schools and policing and transportation and grocery stores look different in different zip codes. And I'm asking, what are we going to do about it? How could we change our slogan to Greensboro, the city of compassion, where your zip code does not define who you are? I have no good ideas of my own. I'm too old. But I read other people's ideas, and one is Next City. They research and publish the best ideas from cities who are handling issues that all the cities are. And each year they compile the best ones in a book. The latest is New York City is just now, this year, putting on a ballot for the citizens of New York City.
30 seconds.
They're going to write a preamble to their charter about being a multicultural democracy. They're going to establish an Office of Racial Equity, which would craft a plan for the city and help every single city department craft a plan for racial equity in that department, transportation, police, everything. And they would create a new cost of living measure. There are so many good ideas out there. Couldn't we set up a community conversation, brainstorm ideas like the new city manager said he was going to do?
Thank you. I believe Next City was here a few months ago, and they
Mayor Vaughn is muted.
Second.
moved by Mrs. Hightower, seconded by Mr. Holston. I am a yes, Mrs. Hoffman, Mr. Holston,
Yes.
Dr. Wells,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mrs. Abuzulator,
Yes.
Mr. Outling,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurm,
Yes.
Mrs. Hightower.
Yes.
And that passes 9-0. We now move on to our business agenda. We have one item. It is I.1, resolution approving bid in the amount of $4,564,916.08 and authorizing execution of contract 2022-001 with Blythe Construction for the resurfacing of streets.
Move the resolution.
That is moved by Ms. Abuzawader, seconded by Mr. Holston. Council, please vote, and we'll take a verbal also. Mrs. Hoffman? Mr. Holston?
Yes.
Dr. Wells? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
I am yes. Ms. Abuzawader?
Yes.
Mr. Outling?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturm?
Yes.
And Mrs. Hightower?
Yes.
That passes 9-0. That is the end of our agenda. Let's do boards and commissions. Mayor Pro Tem?
No.
Ms. Abuzawader?
None this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Holston?
None tonight.
Mrs. Hightower?
Yes, we need to make one correction. I believe on the boards and commissions. At last meeting, we appointed, what was the lady's name? I forgot already. Goldie.
Mrs. Sproul.
Ms. Sproul, okay, Angie. Ms. Sproul to the War Memorial Commission. That's a little premature. The current commission member, Maxine Bateman, term does not expire until August 15th. And so she will continue until then. So Ms. Sproul's appointment will not start until 8/31 of 2022.
Okay.
So just need to clear that up.
And Dr. Wells, that,
Yes, and she's been notified.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Correction has been made.
Okay,
Right, okay. Beyond that, that's all I have. on
okay.
that.
Dr. Wells?
No, not tonight.
Mr. Outling?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to appoint Mr. Peter Isikoff to the Redevelopment Commission and the position that was formerly occupied by Patrick Johnson.
Is there a second? And that was seconded by Mrs. Thurm. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes.
That's all. Thank you.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Yes, I'd like to appoint Catherine Rowe to the Historic Preservation Commission. She's replacing Linda Lane.
Second.
And they're seconded by Ms. Abuzawader. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Anything else, Mrs. Hoffman? Mrs. Thurm?
I have one appointment. I'd like to appoint Shalina Cole to the African American Disparity Commission. That is taking the place of Cynthia Coleman, who turned in her resignation this week.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Johnson.
We don't normally appoint those. That doesn't, we don't appoint those. That comes through the actual chair of the commission. That we don't want to appoint those because we
Madam
have
Clerk,
to know
can
what
you
committee.
provide some clarity?
Is she?
Yes, Madam Mayor, that commission has not been designated as a
Right.
council overseen.
Right.
That's
It's-
right, because it's an ad
It's
hoc
an ad
committee.
hoc committee. It's
Yes,
not
Yes,
a-
ma'am.
Right.
I take my.
So if she's
second back.
interested, she would need to contact Dr. Love Jones, Human Rights, and then they will filter that down to the chair of the ad hoc committee, Crystal Black.
That's fine. We'll handle it that way. Thank you.
Mrs. Thurm, anything else? No? Council comments, Mayor Pro Tem?
Beg your pardon?
Council comments?
I wanted to just say that on this Hyatt Street issue, as challenging as it is and as unfortunate in some ways as it is, there are so many citizens around that I'm proud of, and I'm proud of the city of Greensboro for hearing the concerns of council and of those people and doing all they can. I guess Michelle left. I was going to thank her. They can in a situation that our hands are really tied. Sometimes I think it's challenges like this that bring out the best in people. And I think to a great degree, this has happened. I hope that we can, I think we are chipping away at helping them, but I just wanted to say that sometimes in challenging and difficult situations, there's so much we can learn and there's so much we can do as a community for each other. I don't have anything else. We'll meet before Valentine's Day, won't we? If not, have a good Valentine's Day.
No, Chris, what is our next, the 15th?
Any of y'all down there can take me out to lunch, it'd be all right.
I'd be happy to have you as my date.
Hot date, hot date.
Yes. Ms. Abuzawader?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Exciting. We've got our new city manager here and we've still got Chris Wilson here, so all is good. Very excited. I just want us to keep the momentum going on all of our economic development. We just had the big greens booming. Everybody's got on their button to show that we are certainly moving forward, moving ahead. And I just want to see that momentum keep going. And I do think with the economic development successes we've had that it is going to keep going. And then, of course, we've had some major losses in our community. Several have been mentioned this evening. Of course, Commissioner Coleman. A lot of people lately, it seems like, so we need to keep everyone in our thoughts and prayers.
Excuse me, Mary Kay, and Claudette's sister Laretha Graves was funeralized on Monday.
Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, it's really being a lot of people. So anyway, that's about all I had, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Holston?
Yes. In addition, sharing the words with regarding the family of Carolyn Coleman and then also of Ken Free Senior, two large members of our community that we're going to truly miss. I want to say thank you to Councilwoman Hightower for the invitation to the Southeast Greensboro Coalition Town Hall. It was very informative, as it always has been. I also want to say that it was a pleasure to have attended the Greensboro Afghan Families event on January 25th. And there's a lot of good words that have come out of that, but also a lot of good deeds that have also happened, but still more that need to occur. The comments from Noman giving his personal story was really impactful. I also want to say welcome to our new city manager, Ty Jawoba. Very happy to have you here. And finally, happy Black History Month. Today is February 1, Greensboro 4.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mrs. Hightower?
Thank you. Hugh, I was going to do that as well. Remind everyone, this is Black History Month. Today starts today. And I would challenge each and every one listening to go and learn something other than Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and Harriet Tubman. And you'll find out that we have a rich history. That's certainly a way for learning about diversity and inclusion. So go out and do that. Welcome, Mr. City Manager Ty. I won't mess up the rest of it, but I'd look forward to working with you and all the creative things moving forward for this city. So glad you're here. Glad to have you. Certainly am glad that we've had some great economic development lately. On the day that we had the boom announcement at the airport, I lost my best friend, and that in the name of Commissioner Carolyn Coleman. And talk about rich history, talk about Black history. From the time she was 14, she has always advocated for her people. She sat in down in Savannah, Georgia, when the sit-ins were here in the 60s. She sat in down there as a teenager, and she's in the museum down there in Savannah, Georgia. And so all her life, she has worked for civil rights, to for our people to be equal, and she will be missed greatly. She was my nighttime talking partner, but better still, she took me under her wing because she knew I had potential. She just needed to get it in the right lane. And, you know, sometimes when people have wisdom and knowledge, they don't impart it to others, but she had no problem doing that. So we will have her service on Thursday at 1, and then we will take her home to Savannah on Friday, because that's where her parents are and her siblings are. But she will be missed. She did a lot in this community. Even though she was disabled, she continued to persevere. She did more with one leg than most people do with two. And that's something to be very commended. And I will miss her dearly, greatly. And but I will try to make her proud. So, here.
Thank you. Dr. Wells?
Well, I would like to welcome our new city manager tonight. And I feel that we've lost a great friend in Ms. Coleman. She's done a lot for our city. So thinking about her and her family, and also keeping in mind our sister city, Winston-Salem, going through. We hope it won't be a great catastrophe over there. But I want to invite you on Thursday night at 6:30. We will have our Concerned Citizens of Northeast Greensboro's meeting, and you can get the Zoom link from both of my Facebook pages. And then that's Thursday night. Then the next Thursday night, we're going to do something really special. Councilwoman Hightower and I are going to have a joint town meeting. And we're going to have as our guest our new city manager. And of course, we will be addressing concerns for District 1 and District 2. So we'd like for you to come in on that Zoom, and you will receive from the city the link for that, or how you can get the link for it. I think that's all I have to say on tonight. And the change and the things that are happening in Greensboro. Someone asked me how I felt about the grocery store that was coming to
Westover?
To the other side of town, and wanted to know how did I feel, because I've been trying to get a grocery store over in Northeast Greensboro since 1998. And I told them I was not upset about it. I realized that what I'm working on is how do we change the conditions so that we can meet the criteria. I understand the business side of it, and the grocery store chains have their criteria. So what I'm looking for, and I see the economic development that's coming to the city, and that I think will cause our economy to go up, and then we'll be able to meet in that checkoff list that they have. So I'm pleased that the city is growing, and I'm not upset about can't say I'm not upset about what is happening in the East, but I'm concerned about us making it better. But I'm not going to be upset because Greensboro on a whole is growing, and I'm glad of that. And when it comes to the Hyatt Street people, I have talked to them, and I'm sure that most all of the council members, we feel for them, but we understand there's certain things that we just cannot do. But we feel for the situation that they're in and hoping that things will work out for them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Outling?
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, deepest sympathies and condolences to the family and friends of Commissioner Coleman. She was certainly a tremendous advocate and fighter for fairness and equality, and she'll be remembered by that, as well as her kindness. And those are two qualities, being a fierce advocate, but also being kind, that are certainly uncommon among everyone, especially those in elected life. Second, of course, welcome to Mr. City Manager Jayoba. Mr. Manager has announced a number of reforms and improvements to the city manager's office, including Mr. Wilson now being the deputy city manager. So a hearty congratulations to him. In addition to that, April Albritton will serve as a chief of staff of sorts, although I know that's not her official title. And Ms. Albritton is a fellow UNCG Spartan, so it's always great to have another Spartan in the building. So, congratulations.
Mrs. Hoffman?
I too welcome our new city manager and look forward to just continuing the trajectory that I think we are on in the city. It's, yeah, these things don't happen overnight. The things that we are seeing now is a result of really a decade of investment in all areas in this city. So it's an exciting time and look forward to continuing.
Thank you. Mrs. Thurm?
I would also like to welcome our new city manager, and I'm looking forward to working with you and all the great things that we will do together. And thank you, Chris, for all that you have done over the last 7 months and all you'll continue to do. I'd also like to remind folks that the kickoff for participatory budgeting round 4 is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. That will be a Zoom function. And for anyone watching that would like to participate, you can go to pbgreensboro.com to register and you will receive a Zoom link. And we've already got folks that have ideas for projects and it's exciting to start kicking those off. Also very pleased to say that we're starting to see some great progress on PB projects from round 3. You may recall that we put all of PB on hold temporarily during COVID, and I'm very pleased to see those projects getting picked up now, and there are things under construction, and it's an exciting time. But I would like to encourage people. I know we have well over 100 people registered for that kickoff tomorrow and would like to see it go even higher. So please join us at that kickoff. Again, you can go to pbgreensboro.com to register and get a link for the meeting tomorrow night. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I know we don't have any of our media here this evening, but it is my understanding that today is Dick Barron's last day reporting on the Greensboro City Council. Yet we haven't seen him in a while because he has been Zooming, but I know that we're all going to miss him. And, you know, I think it's unfortunate that the News and Record appears to be under-resourced, and that is not a fault of our local people and our local reporters. I think they're doing more with less. But it is concerning, I think, when, you know, we have a local paper that has very few articles on a daily basis of original reporting. You know, when people look at Greensboro for economic development, you know, one thing they look at is local coverage. And I think it is unfortunate that that coverage has diminished from the News and Record on all of the good things that are coming out of the city and the county. And, you know, they're not able to report on it as much due to the lack of reporters. And again, I want to thank all of them for the hard work that they do because they are doing double time. And I do want to wish Dick Barron, you know, best in his retirement. We have enjoyed working with him, and I'm sure his last story is going to be absolutely terrific. So, you know, we've all said what a great week we've had. The boom announcement seems to have really resonated almost across the country. And it is really fitting that a Denver startup company decided to come to the city of Greensboro for their supersonic jet and their supersonic manufacturing facility, that they recognize the richness of our community and our great workforce and everything that Greensboro has to offer. So I know that we are really going to welcome them and welcome the people at Toyota and all of the other people who've made great announcements over the last couple of years. We're going to continue to roll out those announcements. As Paul Mingert said the other day at the boom, buckle up because it's not over. And I agree. It is a good time to be in Greensboro. I too want to give condolences to Carolyn Coleman and her family. Mrs. Hightower, I know how close you were to her, that she was family to you. And it's shocking to lose somebody who has had such a legacy and it be, not something that was expected. And she really did walk the walk and talk the talk. And I know that we'll miss her. Mr. City Manager, do you have any comments? So we end each meeting with the city manager and the city attorney.
Have to remember that, Barton. But yes, thank you. Thank you so much for your warm welcome. I will say that I noticed a number of things that I just have to highlight. One, very positive about staff. I think that's a great thing. Let's keep it going because we've got a great staff here. I've only been here one day, but I can tell you that everywhere I've been in this building, people have been welcoming and they've also spoken. Okay, yeah, people have been welcoming and they've kind of given me some of their thoughts as well about how we can make things better. So that's a good thing. But I like the fact that as elected officials, you actually value our staff and you said so tonight. That's wonderful. And thank you very much for that. As city manager, I really appreciate what Chris has done for me ever since this announcement. In the last 1 month, we've become really good. I think we talk almost every day or chat and really talk about going forward. And I'm going to continue to lean in terms of how we engage, not just our staff and yourselves, but also our community. I think it was William Shakespeare who said, what is the people? What is the city but the people? What is the city but the people? And I believe that as a city manager and as this executive team, our role is to connect the dots, whether it's about jobs creation, which you've talked about tonight, or housing, which also we've talked about tonight, or even public transportation, which didn't come up tonight, but it's an essential part of affordable housing. And so those are three things that I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more about over the next several weeks. And that's why I'm really excited about the listening sessions that we're going to get into. I'm sure someone is going to talk about one or two or three of these things and others as well. But we also talked about parks and recreation. And I truly believe that if you want to build a city that's vibrant, equitable, sustainable, livable, and thriving, all of these things have to be talked about in a very, very robust way. And finally, I will say I'm encouraged that you talk about equity publicly and you're putting it out there, and it's a great thing. But I believe that as your executive team, our role is to make sure that we walk the talk when we talk about equity, so that every Greensboro, and regardless of where they live in this city, believe that they have good access to good quality of life, regardless of where they live, where they do business, where they go to school, where they have their kids for daycare. It really doesn't matter. As Michelle was talking about relocation, I started thinking that when we relocate people, we also have to think about whether you're relocating them far away from jobs or far away from public transit access. A lot of those things are so important in making a cohesive, vibrant city. And so I'm happy to lead the charge. And I'm happy to say that we got a great thing going with this staff here. And so hopefully over the next several weeks and months, you will continue to hear a lot more from us as to how we're advancing initiatives that build on the successes that we've had so far as a city. So thank you very much for your warm welcome. I'm really happy to be here. I feel that this is where I really truly belong, and I'm happy to be home. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Mr. City Attorney? Thank you. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Dr. Wells, second by Mrs. Thurm. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.